Hello everyone, I'm Leng Jun. Sang Xiao, whose style name is Ziming, is from Yizhou. He was orphaned when he was young, and now lives in a vacant house of his friend Horse. Sang has a natural preference for quietness. Except for going out to eat, he spends the rest of the time at his residence. This night, Huo came to visit Sang and saw that he was always here alone. So he joked, "Are you not afraid of fox demons?" Sang was fearless. He said, "Should there be a fox demon visiting, I will kill the male fox with a sharp sword and open the door to greet the female fox." Huo didn't believe him when he heard what he said. The next day, he discussed with a few friends and decided to test whether Sang was really courageous. They asked a prostitute to knock on Sang's door in the middle of the night, but Sang was so frightened that he squatted on the ground and begged the woman for mercy, saying that he was just bragging. Seeing his embarrassed look, the woman laughed with joy. Sang was so afraid that he planned to move out the next day. Huo couldn't stop laughing. Seeing that his friend was really scared, he told him the truth. Soon, when the crescent was shining brightly, Sang was reading in the candlelight, but another woman knocked on the door. Sang thought it was still a prank conducted by his friend, so he welcomed the woman in. This woman was very beautiful and was particularly unique from ordinary women. Sang, who was stunned by her beauty, asked her where she came from. The woman called herself Lian Xiang, and she was a prostitute in a brothel. She often noticed that Sang was studying at home and was very self-motivated. So she admired him and came to pay him a visit tonight. Sang was overjoyed that the beauty threw herself at him, but he didn't dare to offend her when he thought of his impoverished situation. But what Lian Xiang wanted was only to exchange her true feelings for Sang's love, and money was nothing to her. Sang, a poor scholar, could only respond to Lian Xiang's passionate infatuation with his true heart. The candlelight went out, and the two caressed each other. From then on, Lian Xiang will often have a rendezvous with Sang every other time. Their days were sweet and happy. On one night, Lian Xiang didn't show up. Sang waited till his eyes were almost closed. The lighted oil lamp was suddenly extinguished, and a strange woman went straight to his bed. Sang originally thought it was Lian Xiang, but he was surprised when he heard her sound. He lit the oil lamp and saw a beautiful and charming woman lying on his bed. The woman said her surname was Li, and she was a good girl who admired Sang's elegance. So she took the initiative to climb into his bed at midnight. Different from the dignified beauty of Lian Xiang, Li was delicate and cute. It is another kind of beauty. Sang soon couldn't stand the temptation and lost his mind. When the two were skin to skin, Sang found that Li's body was very cold. Li said coquettishly, "The wind and frost are strong and heavy outside. How can I not be cold with my weak physical strength? I am not afraid of the dark night and the cold weather for your sake. Wouldn't you be disgusted of me?" The tender voice quickly dispelled Sang's doubts. After making love, Li learned that Sang had another confidant. Although she was a little angry, she was not a jealous woman at all. As long as Sang didn't let Lian Xiang know about her existence, she would come to accompany him when Lian Xiang was absent. The romantic Sang thought that Lian Xiang was just a prostitute, and she will definitely not have a long relationship with him. As long as Li was willing to marry him, he would break up with Lian Xiang. Sang originally wanted to propose a marriage at Li's mansion and marry her as his wife. But Li took out an embroidered shoe and told Sang, "Whenever you miss me, this embroidered shoe can ease your love sickness." From then on, when Lian Xiang was not around, Sang took out the embroidered shoe to think about Li. Li always came to him when he took it out. Song and the beauty were lingering every night. Over time, he became thinner and weaker mentally and physically. This night, Lianxiang, who had not been there for a long time, finally came to visit again. Seeing Song's situation, she understood what happened and no longer showed affection to him. She promised to see him in 10 days and asked Song to take care of himself. However, even though Lianxiang was able to control desire, Song could not. As soon as Lianxiang left, he asked Li to come. The brocade bed was covered by their sweat. Making love can bring momentary happiness, but doing it every night, even gods wouldn't be able to bear it. This night, Li pestered Song and asked him, "Who is more beautiful, Lianxiang or me?" Song thought that both of them were the most unique beauties, but Li wanted to decide the winner and meant to take a peek at Lianxiang's appearance. When Lianxiang came the next night, she found that Song's offering was dark, and he was weaker than before. She took his pulse and found that Song had a ghost syndrome. He had encountered a ghost. Lianxiang asked if Song had any other confidant. Song denied it with a guilty conscience. Seeing that he was still stubborn, Lianxiang left helplessly. Li, who was peeping on the side, seized the opportunity to sneak up on Lianxiang. She discovered that Lianxiang was actually a fox demon. No wonder she was so beautiful as a fairy, because she was not an ordinary woman at all. Li told Song what she had discovered, but Song only thought those were words out of jealousy and didn't believe her at all. Afterwards, Song told it to Lianxiang. His inadvertent jokes attracted Lianxiang's questioning. Lianxiang had known that Song had an affair with another, but she didn't know who she was. Unexpectedly, that woman dared to separate her from Song. It seemed that her identity was definitely complicated. Lianxiang warned Song not to have sex without restraint every day and night. Otherwise, beautiful women were more fearful than foxes. There were many men who had died of semen loss in the world. For the sake of Song's safety, Lianxiang decided to find out the woman who pestered him every night. Lianxiang hid quietly in the room. As soon as Li came, she revealed the true identity of Li. She was not a good girl, but a female ghost who sucked blood, semen from men. As soon as Li saw Lianxiang, she disappeared in fear. However, Song was still obsessive. He didn't believe that the delicate beauty was a ghost, and didn't think he was sick. Once lovers, always lovers. Although Lianxiang was helpless, she couldn't bear to see Song dying like that, so she took out pills to treat him. After the moon set and the sun rose, Lianxiang finally cured Song 10 days later. She warned Song to stay away from ghosts, approach living persons, and stop being tempted by beauty. However, as soon as Lianxiang left, Song, who was lonely and intolerable, called Li again. Lianxiang went through a lot of troubles to rescue Song, and was very angry when she saw him had fallen into the same rut. Song didn't care, but reckoned that Lianxiang was jealous. "I tried my best to save you, but you not only don't appreciate it, but also slander my true heart." Lianxiang was completely wounded by Song, and angrily decided that after 100 days, she would come back when he was completely bedridden. Then it would be clear who was sincere and who was the ghost. Without the restraint of Lianxiang, Song and Li made love every night. 100 days later, he was really so sick that he couldn't even drink rice porridge. Seeing him being like that, Li cried over and over again. Actually, she didn't know she would cause Song to be like this. Song didn't regret until now, and he blindly rebuked Li for seducing him and causing him to die. Seeing him dying, Lianxiang finally couldn't bear it, so she appeared again. Li knelt down and asked Lianxiang to save Song. She was a ghost who had never been in love, so she couldn't help but want to get close to him when she saw Song. She never intended to hurt him. Seeing Li's sincere appearance, Lian Xiang sighed and helped her up. In fact, she had anticipated that such thing would happen, and she had left for the past few months to gather herbs for Song. Lian Xiang's medicine rescued Song. After this incident, Li decided not to harm others anymore. She returned to the underworld and never interfered with Lian Xiang and Song again. Soon after, the daughter of a family named Zhang died and came back to life. But she claimed to be Li who revived in a new guise. As soon as Li woke up, she went to find Song. Master Zhang and Madame Zhang wouldn't let her go out for the time being to protect her reputation. After Li calmed down, she found that Miss Zhang's appearance was very ordinary, so she couldn't stop crying. She used to be confident for her beauty, but she couldn't help feeling ashamed whenever she saw Lian Xiang. Now that she had revived into this look, she might as well be a ghost. No matter who the soul was, Mrs. Zhang treated her as her true daughter and patiently comforted her. Li was so arrogant that she stopped eating and drinking for 7 days. The anxious Master Zhang lifted up the quilt and found that his daughter was swollen and covered with blisters. After a while, Li woke up, regained her appetite, and ate frantically. Suddenly, she felt extremely itchy all over her body, and then skins fell off in large chunks. When Mrs. Zhang came back in the evening, Li had already returned to her previous beautiful appearance. On the other side, Song heard that Li had come back in life in a new guise, and he rekindled his feelings for her. Seeing Song still have feelings for Li, Lian Xiang was heartbroken. She was a fox, while Li was now a human being. Compared to her, Li and Song were more suitable. Moreover, Li was so infatuated with Song. Perhaps it would be better to let them be a couple. So Lian Xiang endured grief and persuaded Song to propose a marriage at Zhang Mansion. Fortunately, even though Song was amorous, he was grateful for Lian Xiang's kindness to him and rejected her proposal. However, after that, he was always uneasy. Knowing that she couldn't keep him, Lian Xiang asked Song to meet Li on the day of Master Zhang's birthday. Song wore the beautiful and luxurious clothes that Lian Xiang had made by magic for him, and met Li smoothly. Li burst into tears and wanted to go back with him. Song also knelt down and begged. Mrs. Zhang saw the two of them were deeply affectionate and decided to recruit him as a live-in son-in-law. Song went home and happily told Lian Xiang about this lucky matter. Lian Xiang frowned and was heartbroken, but still congratulated him with a fake smile. It was time for her to leave. Now that Song entered the Zhang mansion, she did not have the necessity of following, but Song refused to let her leave. He wanted his dream girl, but he also didn't want to lose his wife. He was so excited that he hadn't noticed Lian Xiang was in a low mood until now. He hugged this woman who had been helping him tightly. He was reluctant to let down the woman who treated him so good. And there was already a child in Lian Xiang's belly. She was not willing to leave as well. Song then went to apologize to Master Zhang that he would not like to be a live-in son-in-law. Li could only marry him as a concubine, and his principal wife must be Lian Xiang. Master Zhang was furious, but after repeated requests from Li and Mrs. Zhang, he also had to agree to this marriage. On the wedding day, Lian Xiang stood decorously at the door of the mansion, waiting for Song and the bride's arrival. Song noticed that the ruined house had turned into a mansion in surprise, and immediately understood it was Lian Xiang's credit. On the wedding night, Lian Xiang drank a cup of wine with Song and Li to celebrate the rejoicing, and then took the initiative to push Song into Li's room. Even though she felt heartbroken, in order not to make Song embarrassed, she could only pretend to be generous. Soon after the marriage, Lianxiang gave birth to a child. In order to get rid of the love and hatred of the three, she pretended to die of illness, and chose to fulfill the happiness of the two and left alone. A dignified and generous wife who can reach out a helping hand to a man, and a beautiful, smart, cute concubine who can help a man to relax. Good wives and pretty concubines have been dreams of men since ancient times. However, this story makes me very speechless. Even if the beauties fall in love with the poor scholar for no reason, does the images of begging and chasing really fit the images of a noble lady and a fox demon? It is unreasonable to portray a woman into an irrational image of a love-struck woman. Such a story may warn the sincere lovers like Lianxiang, if you sprinkle love on the spring breeze, it will return you bright red blossoms and green willows. If you devote love to the stars, it will give you a dazzling sea of stars. But if you give love to a greedy playboy, the playboy will answer with cheating on. Whether you are a man or a woman, don't humble yourself into the dust after falling in love with someone, because your flowers that bloom from your inner joy may only be crushed by the feet of others. No one can see the love that is too humble. Before loving someone, you must love yourself first. Alright, that's all for today's movie sharing. I'm Leng Jun. See you next time.